His name is Brett Connors, but technically it's said fun as far as the pronunciation of his name because he's a blast to be around. And he joins me today on the On to Something podcast. You know him in a variety of different ways. He is now a celebrity on Second Serve, which is part of the new burgeoning content on Tennis Channel. He is a producer at Tennis Channel. So he's a man of many talents with the network. And we're going to talk about his story from a tennis perspective. And I know you've done a few of these introspective pieces, but we're going to learn something about you in parts of your life that maybe a lot of people don't know. And that's going to be one of the big parts of why we're doing this conversation. Bryan Fenley have worked with Brett doing commentary for Tennis Channel. Brett, I'm stoked to have you on. I feel like in having you on that I'm in the presence of a celebrity because I absolutely love the podcast that you and your dad, Jimmy Connors, are doing. By the way, everybody go check it out. Advantage Connors podcast. You guys break it down. You go beyond the game, and I think that's what we're going to do here today as well.
Thanks, Brian. That's quite an intro. I don't know if I can. I hope I can live up to all that. That's a lot, but yeah, happy to be here with you. Looking forward to it. I know we've talked about it for a while now, and after working together a few weeks back, I'm looking forward to it. Let's have some fun.
Who's the best golfer in the Connors household?
That's tough. That's tough. I don't play quite as much as the old man. The old man has a little more free time on his hands these days, so he gets out there 4 to 5 times a week with all his buddies up in Santa Barbara. But I think we're pretty even. I feel like if I was playing 4 or 5 times a week, I might be able to get him once in a while. But I think if we go out there right now, like it might be 50-50. You know, he beats me sometimes, I beat him other times.
How does he handle it when his son beats him?
I think not so bad. If it was tennis, it might be different, but I think he kind of gave me golf like a long time ago. You know, we started playing around the same time. He was obviously way older than I was, but we would go, he'd pick me up from school, you know, when I was 12, 13 years old, and we'd go play until dark, you know, during the winter and before the golf season. So I think he's happy to let me be the golfer kind of the family, you know, quote unquote, even though he plays a ton himself. And I let him handle all the tennis stuff.
How refined are you as a caddy? I know you've done that as well.
Yeah, actually, I did. I did caddying for 2 summers up near Santa Barbara, Rancho San Marcos Golf Club. Shout out. Yeah, I like caddying. Caddying's fun. I think it's more fun at a private course. When you get caddies at public courses, sometimes like the people aren't used to having caddies. They don't know how to like treat the caddies or what to expect from the caddy. So there'd be times where you think you're giving the guy good information, and then he doesn't hit the shot the way you think he should hit the shot. And then he gets mad at you, and then they're kind of like the scapegoat for the bad shot. But I like it. I mean, it's a great way to like learn the game, to be around golf. I mean, I love golf. I've played it for 20, 30 years now. And so it's a good way to learn and see other sides of it. When you're not playing it, you pick up a lot of other details and things that you can incorporate into your game, I think, by just observing and watching.
What parts of being a caddy could you incorporate into the movie Caddyshack?
Oh, that's tough. They did a pretty good job with that one. You know, that was originally supposed to just be about the caddies. There wasn't supposed to be the whole Ty Webb and Bill Murray and all that. That came later and became a bigger part of the show. But yeah, I think they did a good job just showing the kind of like degeneracy that happens around golf courses and like around the caddy room. You know, sometimes it can be kind of a dirty place, you know, like a locker room almost. So I think they did a good job with that, and probably had a lot of fun while they filmed it.
If we were to see what you're like when it isn't involved with you putting on broadcasts, you are a big sports gambler. And what is it about that art of putting the money down on something that scratches an itch mentally with Brett Connors?
Yeah, I'm not as big of a sports gambler as I used to be. I do dabble in the tennis, obviously, because I follow it way more than I do a lot of the other sports. The other team sports are very hard to predict, especially when you start dealing with lines and they have to win by a touchdown or 3.5 points. And that's too much for me. I've seen everything I feel like possible happen, losing this way, winning this way, all kinds of stuff. So I kind of stick to just big events. You know, like I like doing Super Bowls or playoffs and stuff where everybody's involved and you have kind of a reason to watch. But mostly I stick to tennis because I watch a lot of tennis. I feel like you don't care how much the person wins by. I just want them to win the match. So I've been around gambling my whole life. My family is a big gambling family. My dad started one of the first riverboat casinos in back in Illinois, in St. Louis, a company called Argosy Gaming. So I've been around that, and then used to gamble. My dad was a big gambler. He would have me pick the games when he would go on his cold streaks, and just be like, "Here, give it to the 10-year-old to like pick the favorite color helmet," And the worst thing was, I think I had some success. So then he started doubling up, and then he gets and then he gets crushed a little. But I've always been around it. I think it's fun. I don't do it for like a lot of money. Usually, it's more of an entertainment thing, more for just just to have more of a reason to watch. Because as I get older, I don't watch as much sports as I used to in my free time. So if I have a little money on the game and make it a little more fun with the buddy, it's all the better.
Brett Connors is with me. He is a man who does many things at Tennis Channel. I'm Bryan Fenley, commentator with Tennis Channel. The idea of you having fun, you making it entertaining, and being a part of Second Serve. This is a really neat project that I've been watching from social media, where there's a lot of gambling involved in the tennis, and Tennis Channel is putting on this broadcast where they're now having some fun. You're bringing on panelists. What do you like in that space that you aren't like in any other place in your life?
I kind of like being in front of the camera a little bit. Just I've been, 15 years behind the camera and growing up around it and seeing it. I think it's fun to get out there and to, give your opinion and give your take. The Second Serve stuff is really neat. Like we did it for a week during Paris earlier this year. And it's kind of like a second screen experience, a little bit like Manning cast and a little bit like, sometimes we watch tennis, sometimes we'll jump around, we'll show match points or set points or even doubles sometimes. I know, shout out doubles. I know there's a lot of people who love doubles out there. And then just we have people come in, guests, they can Zoom, they can be in studio. And it's kind of a lot more laid back, a lot less rigid with the timing of like commercial breaks. We can have longer segments. We were doing segments that were 25, 30 minutes long, which is kind of crazy. So it's just kind of like a fun second screen. So like if you have the main match on Tennis Channel, throw us on your laptop or your iPad or your phone, and then just like let us talk you through, and hey, this person just tweeted that, we'll pop up the tweet, this just came in, this match just ended, we can jump around, and it's fun. I get to work with a lot of my buddies, Mike Haston and Alex Ruskin and Jeff Chisover and a lot of good guys, Cale Hammond. So we're hoping to do more of it next year. So we'll see how it goes.
It's definitely something that you found something that I think has such a lifespan, and nobody else is really doing that. And you guys are having fun doing it as well. There's a personality to it as well, which I think is even much more appeasing for those who are watching. Brett Connors is with me. I'm Bryan Fenley. You mentioned being sort of someone who likes to be in the tennis space in ways laid back. What about you outside of tennis is laid back about you?
I'm pretty chill outside of tennis. I have a dog. I have a girlfriend, so we hang out, spend a lot of time like at the beach or the park. I love taking road trips. I'm a big, get in the car, pack your car up, and just drive out, to Utah or Nevada or up north in California, and just disappear for a week, and kind of get away from phones and computers and all that stuff a little bit and detach. And I love nature, so I'm a big photographer. I have a drone. I'm a big nerd with the drone, so I fly that around, take that on trips with me. But yeah, man, I'm just a pretty chill guy. I used to party a lot more when I was younger, like everyone did. But now, like, I think I feel like I've done a lot of that, and now I just like to work, watch tennis, and hang out with my people.
So you like to disappear. How afraid were you that you were going to disappear for good when you were underneath that glacier? I saw you take a picture of you being underneath a glacier.
Right,
How
right.
was that? And how much were you in fear of your life in a way?
No, I wasn't actually. I've always wanted to go to Iceland, and so I was on my way to Europe anyway. And I found some little tour. It was like 4 days, and just bought a ticket, and took you to like the top 10, 12 spots around Iceland, and one of them was that glacier, and so it was pretty surreal. To like every year it changes depending on how it like tunnels itself out, like how it freezes and then melts back. And so like every time it's different. So it's just pretty surreal to be under there and to know that ice was created, from water millions of years ago, potentially. And it's just sitting there melting like on your fingertips. And and that stuff. And I mean, Iceland's like, it's like a fairy tale land. I'd love to go back there again and spend some more time.
What is it about being in nature and disappearing that in being off the grid for a little bit that you gravitate to? What does that do for you, even from like a healing perspective?
Yeah, I'm a big I love traveling alone. Even though I have a girlfriend and friends and family and stuff, she still allows me to go and take some trips by myself, which is nice. What I get out of it, I like just being alone. I don't know what it is because so much of our life, your attention is taken away to things around you and responsibilities that we all have, and when you're alone and you travel, you make your own itinerary. There's no one that, you can bother and, oh, I want to go here. No, I want to go there. I just go where I want to go. And I'm not disappointing anyone by doing that. And I like detaching. Like I like no one knowing what I'm doing. I like not caring about what other people are doing. And I don't know if that comes from, being young and like around my pops, being around like, the limelight and on TV and, all that stuff he did. Maybe I kind of pushed me towards that, but I just like traveling. I love doing new stuff, making new experiences and like taking pictures and all that stuff. So disappearing into the world is they go well together.
As you were traveling with your pops and growing up and watching him take on the world in tennis and conquer the world in tennis, what moments as a child do you hang on the most to?
Um, that's tough, I guess. I mean, there's so many. I just always remember that it always was like normal, like not the travel. I mean, once I got the older I got, the less normal I realized all that was. Once you get older and you're not traveling with them and going to the hotels and everything, you have to book your own stuff and pay for everything on your own. But I just remember like that, even though we were living this surreal life, that it was just like he was just my dad, like all along the way, it wasn't like, he was bigger than just being a dad. He never got like lost in that. It was almost always his most important thing was to still be a good dad, even though he had all these obligations and interviews to give and practice and matches to play and all that stuff. So I just think I remember that a lot, that he could have, because I've seen other people and, in show business and stuff where they become a little detached from the family element of their life, with a bunch of nannies or whatever it is. And I just think that, he always made sure to call us in the morning before we went to school and, before we went to bed after his match. And it was just always, so I always just remember, like learning to tie. He taught me how to tie in like a German hotel when I couldn't sleep. I was like bouncing. He was like, you're bouncing off the walls. And he's like, so I sat you down. He's like, look, we're going to learn how to tie your shoes, so just like little things like that stick out, and just always being grateful that he was like that.
What do you wish you could have done more of in your childhood?
Uh, I don't know. Probably golfed earlier. Maybe like I just started the things that I like doing maybe sooner. You know, I think in people always are like, they want to tell their kids that, you can do anything that you want to do, but then there's a lot of things you probably don't want to do, like, so I think that, try and follow the things you love. Like I was into golf. I played a lot of golf. I played a year in college at Arizona, redshirted there for a year, and I broke my wrist. And I've always felt like I should have played more and taken it more serious, like earlier and like longer. That's like one thing I kind of just wish, because I love golf and I would have always wished I could have seen like maybe if I could have taken that a little further.
Obviously, there's things that, and let's not take away from the fact that that golf game, I think even though you're talking about it and you have earlier in this conversation, you're underselling yourself as to how good you are as a golfer. If there's a theme to this conversation, it's that Brett Connors is underselling himself as a golfer. But that probably makes you think what could have been, to your point about, man, if I would have stayed with it or had not changed up things a little bit, where you would have been with that. But when you have these opportunities to chat with your father in the podcast, and of course, I encourage everybody to go check it out, Advantage Connors podcast, wherever you get your podcast. What have you learned about your dad in those conversations that you didn't know about him in any of your other interactions?
With golf, you mean?
Of anything?
Oh, I don't know. Like I just think, hmm. I mean, it's just I feel like we always kind of have like an open conversation that's like always just going. Like I don't, if I don't see him for 2 weeks or whatever, we just pick right back up, and just always thought it was fun to watch him try and get better at golf when he's already this great like tennis player. He's like great at this one thing, and then how hard he can be on himself, and then like I'm hard on myself. Like especially with golf and stuff. If I hit one bad shot, not so much anymore, but when I was younger, I'd get really negative and throw my clubs and stuff like that. But just just watching him, like we were both kind of at the same spot, like trying to learn this sport, and he's this great athlete at another sport, but it's like, who cares? It doesn't matter a little bit. This is this other thing, this is golf. So I always liked trying to get better at this thing together. Like we always had golf that we worked on with each other, and we used to videotape we had a little bit of land up in where I grew up where we had some horses, and we had a spotlight on our backyard, and we would sit there and hit golf balls into the horse pasture. We'd like put the horses on the other side and then just like smack balls into the opposite end, and then go in and pick them up. And we would videotape ourselves with the old videotape on a tripod, and then watch them back immediately, and then go play golf the next day. So like doing all of that stuff with him was kind of cool because, it was like, I don't know, it was like we were in a way at the same age trying to like get better at this sport, even though he's way older than me and all this other stuff. So I always appreciated like the conversations we had, just tinkering around with like, better wash your club tonight. Clean club's a happy club. So then we go wash our clubs, and we're like, you're right, like, clean those grooves out, like stuff like that. And so he was never like had another thing to do that was more important than like us. And so I always thought that was cool.
That bond that you have, how was it shared and felt from you when you're a kid and you're watching him compete? How much pressure are you feeling internally yourself with watching your dad and that resting on your own shoulders and you taking on what he's taking on?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot. Like when you're young and when you're a kid, you personalize so much of it. So the people rooting for your dad are cool, and the people rooting for him not cool. So you take
Yeah.
all that personal around the people cheering around you and the other player, and you hear him talking smack and everything. But it's a lot of pressure, but it's one of those things where it's like you like it because you're part of the action. Like you're dying a little bit because nothing you can do about it. You're just sitting in the stand going like, come on, trying to give him positivity and all that stuff. But yeah, it was definitely nerve wracking, and then yeah, it was tough to watch him sometimes. I know my mom would go through it too, just watching some of the matches, but I mean, that's part of it. That's what it is. And as I got older, I realized, what that went.
What was the best pep talk you gave your dad as a child?
uh um I don't know. I told my dad once, because he walks around with tennis, you walk around with your eyes like down. Like if you ever
Yeah.
watch like Federer, a lot of the great players, they don't look at the crowd too much. They're like, because the match is down here. They try and keep themselves level, like it's just a tennis court and all that stuff. And so I remember we were hanging out or talking or having some deep conversation that I was dropping knowledge on him about it. And I just told him like, hey, beautiful, cool stuff, like up, you know?
Yeah.
And so like ever since then, he's been, he does it more. Like, so he goes on his hikes, he goes on his walks. He'll send me a text. Hey, I saw our hawks. We love red tail hawks. It's like this thing that we love everywhere where we used to live. And so he'll be like, hey, I saw a couple hawks. I saw our hawks up there. I think they got a baby. They got a baby hawk. And so a lot more stuff where you can tell, I feel like he's like opened up his like horizon, or, I don't know how to say it, but I feel like, that wasn't like a pep talk, but I think it was something that I know that he listened to and is like incorporated into his life. I think that's cool.
You guys talked about that on one of your recent podcasts. I remember that you were saying how, as you said, as a tennis player, you're laser focused. And now when he's on a bike ride, he's able to take in nature and the scenery and really appreciate it. When did that switch for you come? When you said, look, I know I have things to work on, but I'm going to enjoy this life while it's happening in real time amongst me.
I think it was probably around 12, 13 years ago. I used to be a little bit heavier weight wise. And so I started exercising more. I got into photography. Like the reason I used to have a dog, Schnauzer, shout out Bentley, the mini Schnauzer, who's not with us anymore, but he had gotten sick And I realized I didn't have really a lot of pictures of him. So I went and I bought a camera and I kind of just, taught myself photography, went around taking pictures, following him. And then that kind of just changed, went into everything else. And so I feel like I didn't like myself a little bit, like when I was younger. And then I got in shape and I started like doing more things that were positive for me, working out more, hanging with better people, taking pictures, hanging with my dog, all this stuff. And so I think once I did that, like the last 12, 13 years, it's been like a little bit of a switch where like I really don't watch much TV, like I'll watch like some office reruns or something like that, but I don't even have cable. I'm not a big TV guy. I don't tell anyone that. But like I used to watch a ton of TV when they had commercials, and I'm just like I can't even think about being that guy anymore. So I can tell there's a lot of things over this last 10 or 12 years that it might not have been like a big change in the moment, but like over a small time has made me like a better person and, hopefully grown a little bit.
How proud are you of that change and the person that you've transformed and become, knowing what you were dealing with beforehand?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I have a long way to go to be honest, dude. I'm not like I'm there or anything. Every day can be a struggle with different things and thoughts and everything. But, I mean, I'm proud of myself just for knowing that there were things that needed to be improved. I think a lot of people don't want to be honest with themselves or they hide behind whatever it is. And I understand that because like I used to be like that. But like there's nothing wrong with confronting whatever the thing is yourself because like you're not BSing yourself anyway. So you might as well try and hit it straight head on. So, I'm just proud of myself for like knowing I've had stuff to work on and I still have stuff to work on.
How does your dad show you he's proud of you?
I think he just asking me how I'm doing, checking on me all the time. Probably the way he like talks about me to his buddies or something, like a lot of stuff that I don't
What's
like
he saying
hear.
during those conversations?
I mean, I just think, he doesn't really come out and say like, "Hey, I'm proud of you." I just like the way he talks to me and the way he asks about my life and references stuff, and I know that he is. I know he is about me and my sister and my family and all that stuff. So it's not like where I ask him like, "Hey, are you proud of me?" or like anything like that. But like I can just tell that like he's happy for me and he can tell that I've tried to grow and become a better person and all that stuff and that he's rooting for me.
How has that relationship changed between you two over the years?
um yeah, I kind of like dipped out on tennis for a while. Like I till I was about 20 years old, I traveled with him a lot. He was on the senior tour till he was like 50. And we would golf and play the senior tour in the summer and like just go for 3 months and be on the road. And then like I kind of moved away after high school and after that, and kind of got away from tennis, didn't follow it, didn't work in it or anything for about 8 years, probably 8 9 years. And so like it wasn't that we like disconnected, but like we weren't living in the same state and we weren't golfing all the time. And then I'm not like involved in tennis, and kind of he retired around the same time. So then the tennis kind of, not that that matters, the tennis, but like that one of the things that we did a lot together wasn't there anymore. So I think we kind of went through a phase where we didn't connect as much. And then as I got older, and then like kind of like the last 12 or 13 years, like, moved back to California and started golfing a lot more and spending a lot of time up in Santa Barbara with him and my mom. And so it's just, it's been good. It's been like, it wasn't anything that was ever wrong. It was just probably a natural thing when you're a young, early 20s person, like figuring yourself out. And so like, it's all good now.
It's beautiful to hear how that relationship has grown between you and your dad and your mom and your sister and the rest of your family, and the way in which you've had that so much inner self growth, and to think that you could go down the path of a sport but create your own path in that sport. How we talk about the pride you have, and I know you're a very humble guy, Brett, but to think that you are in essence a self-made man in tennis, in a sport that your dad is known for, what does that mean to you, that you were able to be a self-made, create your own way in a sport where you have made headway, you have created that own path for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. I mean, I feel like I've always had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about all that. So I still feel a little weird that I'm involved in tennis. Like there was a part of me who thought I would learn TV and tennis and then bounce into some other sport or golf or something else, just to like make my own way in that. But I mean, I've kind of just stuck in tennis because I like tennis a lot. And Tennis Channel is here in my home in California, and I've made a lot of friends working there. And so, I think it used to bother me that like people would like ask me like, do you play tennis like your dad, do all of them that, like all this stuff like that. I used to hate that. So I think that's one of the reasons where I went into golf, because I played tennis and
Ah,
golf growing up,
yeah.
up until like freshman year of high school. I played both for a year, and it was kind of a lot because they're in the same season. So I was like, kind of have to pick one. And I was like happy to choose golf. I was better at golf because I put more time into it and liked it more. And so it kind of like, now this is my thing, And so when I was younger, I was a better player than my dad because I was, playing all the time every day. And it was kind of cool that like, hey, you're the tennis guy. And like, yeah, I get to golf. I can beat you at golf, But like working in tennis, I love it. I just I started as like a PA, like 14 years ago, and did that for a few years, and then I worked with ESPN for a few years doing their Grand Slams and their summer coverage, and then started back at Tennis Channel about 2014 as a tape producer, and kind of just been with them as they've built center court and everything that they do there, and like now it doesn't bother me anymore, and that's just because what I do is almost like it's tennis, but it's also like TV.
Yeah.
You can take what you learn in tennis and just go basketball or like in golf. You can do it the same thing. It's the same, it's the same moving parts in other sports. So it's like I'm not really in tennis. I'm in like media. I'm in television. So but I just happen to work a lot of tennis.
The team, the family, we talk about your own family, but the family that you have at TC and how welcome they make you feel. What is it about them that makes you smile the most?
I mean, if a lot of the guys I've known for a long time, girls, everybody there, it's just like I love the fact that we've like been a part of so much of like this period of time. Like when you look back, I've started in 2008, so like 15 years almost now. Like think about those 15 years. It's like Fed, Nadal, Joker, Murray. All these great players, all these amazing matches and tournaments. And I love that I have this group of people that like we've covered all that. Like there's a good majority. Like one of us has been on every one of those matches. We've done every one of those post game shows. Like one of us has been, part of us is there all the time. And it's just like a good group of people who are funny and have good senses of humor and get along. Because TV, how it is. There can be long days. You can't leave. You don't get to leave your chair to go eat. You don't get a lunch break. You're on air. You're sometimes on air for 10 or 12 hours a day. And it can be a little like, you're in a little control room. It's almost like being on a submarine where you're just locked off from the world for the day. And so you want to have people that you can like take those moments with, you know, the people who it's like, geez, it's like 12 hours into this day and we still have another third set, and they're like, then we start making the jokes and everything's like fine. And we're going to get through it, So I just like that all of us have been through a lot of the battles of covering all this stuff for 15 years. And now when you flip on a classic match or a highlight or something, it's like, hey, we were there, or I did that highlight, or he produced that match, and it's just like, it's pretty cool that we're going to have that, the rest of our lives.
Those shared experiences are not going away. And it's funny how the nostalgia really comes out when you think of how you are such engraced in the idea of being there with the big moments and having a place in that. That's, I can't even put into words what that means. And to think about as well how fun it is. And I know, again, you're not one to brag, but how fun it is to work with you. What is it about you that people enjoy coming to and wanting to work with you? I mean, and I'm here to tell you that I'm one of those, but there are many, many that feel the same way. But it's the way in which you command yourself in those moments in the control room. How did you get to being such an enjoyable teammate, if you will?
I mean, I've always been like kind of a jokester a little bit. I feel like especially with TV, because live television is like stressful, like
Yeah.
there's no like, wait, let's fix it in post and then we'll put it out. And it's no, there is no post, it's right out there. And so it's like stressful. So I always feel like I always want to try and like keep the mood light. Like, like don't be totally goofing around. Make sure you get your work done and handle your business. But I like to joke. I like to like keep everyone kind of having fun and smiling a little bit. um what I've learned is by watching people around me, by watching when I do tape production, my buddy Sefer Turk, who's one of the best EVS operators in the world, Danny Pitts, Ruben Corona, like guys like this teach me a lot about like the technical side and all these things where like you might not know if you're not with somebody that good. And so watching my friend Ian Dunn produce, he's a great young producer. So when I'm producing, I have a question, I hit him up. Hey, what do you think? What should I do, Panda? That's his nickname. So I think just trying to get as much as you can from the people around you, absorb the good and leave the stuff that doesn't work for you, and just try and have fun and keep people light and enjoying themselves. Because like when we work together, you don't want to sit there and not hear anything from me or just serious, cookie cutter stuff like, going to break now, 3, 2, 1. You want to like, it's fun to joke around and, then that makes you have more fun on air, I hope, and stuff like that. So, I just try and have fun and learn from the people around me.
Last question for you. Brett Connors is with me. I'm Bryan Fenley. What spawned that love of learning? Because I feel like as you're picking up from those you work with and you're constantly wanting to know more about the business, I feel like this is something lifelong with you, or you've always had this keen sense in wanting to learn about anything, no matter what it is, tennis related or not.
Yeah. I've always, I feel I'm pretty perceptive. Like, I feel like I'm good at picking up a lot of stuff like that's going on at the same time. I think that comes from like traveling with my dad, because no one was really focused on me when I was with him, like, oh, yeah, the little son and everything like that. But most people were paying attention to him. And then he's in the moment, but I can see everything. And so you could see how people treat him when he's in the room, people how they treat other people when he's not in the room, or how they treat you when he's with them, or how you're not with them. You
Ah,
like learn a lot about people observing. And I think that's helped me a lot. I mean, maybe I'm a little too skeptical sometimes. I'll like maybe assume the worst sometimes, or something like that. But a lot of the time, I'm right, just because like people are creatures of habit, and like a lot of people operate the same way. So I think just watching and observing when people don't even know you're watching can help you a lot.
that adds to the depth of who you are. And as we get to learn about you in really neat ways, I noticed that when I first met you, that there was a depth about you. Like, and as an empath, maybe I can tell, but there's something there. And it's one of those things where for me, I wasn't one who got a lot of attention growing up as well in my own childhood. And I feel like there's a shared thing there where because of that, you're much more aware of your surroundings and you're very much tapped in and you look at life a different way, in a beautiful way, which I hope that people saw as you wrap this conversation and learning about things about you maybe that they didn't know before. Brett Connors, great work he continues to do. You can follow him so many different places, but of course, Advantage Connors podcast at ADV Connors with his dad and does great work there. Producer, on air talent with Tennis Channel, commentator with Tennis Channel. I am Bryan Fenley. Brett, thanks so much, man. This was cool. I'm wondering as we wrap this thing up, how many questions that you thought were coming that maybe you didn't expect.
No, there was a few. There was some good ones there. I like that. I had to like peer off into the distance and like go up to my upper right and think there. But it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, and I always enjoy talking about stuff that is different. Like different questions, different takes, because so many things you can get the same kind of Tennessee questions, and I like that you ask some deeper stuff, and we're willing to go there with me.